Switching gears with you a little bit,
Yep.
back to your practice. We talked about getting value and what an engagement looks like, and it doesn't always go optimally. Sometimes things go left.
Mm.
Have you ever had to fire a client? And if you can share anything, what happened, maybe a story around it, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, a couple of them.
Oh,
I actually have fired a lot of clients in the past. I'm gonna go early in my career for the company that I started, and then I'll come to a couple of recent ones. But early in my career, this is where when you're starting, and this is actually good for consultants.
right, right.
When you're starting off as a consultant, like hey, you take the leap. Okay, there is a tendency. You need, in my opinion, you need at least 6 months runway of money in the bank before you want to go off on your own, give or take. Okay.
Yep.
Because if you don't, what happens is you chase bad money. You take money from anybody who will give it to you, right? And it's not really your perfect ICP or really where you add the most value, but you'll take on anything. So that's what we did when I first started my first company. We did outsourced IT services, and we would literally take anybody who had computer problems, right? Like give us, 10 hours, you want to, hourly rate stuff, fine, no problem. But what our goal was recurring revenue, right? So we needed people on a recurring revenue platform that would pay us $3,000 a month, whatever.
Right.
So we would get these clients, but what it would do is distract us from really getting the clients that were going to truly build our business. And then what happened eventually, unfortunately, is we got to a point where we had enough of those clients that we had to then go back to these clients and fire them. Basically, we had to come to them and say, "Hey, thanks so much for helping us get here. Here's a new package. I know it's 10 times more than you've ever spent before with us, but this is our new plan. And if you don't go on this plan, we can't support you anymore." And that's not a fun conversation. That could be like, dude, we were here from you at the start. And it's like, oh shit, yeah, but it just doesn't fit our model. So you actually, even though you're paying the bills with bad money, you're actually retarding your growth in a lot of ways because you're not focusing on what you should focus on. So first and foremost, you need to make sure you go for the right revenue, the right clients. Okay. Now, fast forward to where I am today. I fired a couple of clients. One for values-oriented stuff because of how they treated my employees. They were, a couple of clients like VPs of sales, big brain, look at me, rah, rah, rah. And I have all my trainers are women. And they would treat them poorly.
Wow. Wow.
And want to talk to me because I'm John.
Kudos to you for that.
Like, hey, what's up, dude? Like da da da. And I would talk to my team, and I'd say, and they'd be like, I'd be like, so how's it going with X, Y, Z? And they'd be like, well, they're okay, And even clients who were like spending good money with us, and I, when I hear they're okay, well, what's going on? And I dig into it and I find out the VP of sales or some reps on the team are abrasive and talk down to her and that type of stuff. And I've called the VP of sales and say, like, hey, I know we have another couple of sessions coming up here. We're good. I'm going to give you your money back. And I actually don't want to do business with you anymore. And they'd be like, what the fuck, man? They're like, things are going good. I go, no. You treat my employees like shit. And the customer's not always right. Anybody who thinks the customer's always right is full of shit. Right. Your employees. Invest in your employees and your customers will be fine. Okay. But if you take bad customers, just because it's just like having an A player on your team. If you have an A player who's making it rain, okay, but is a raging asshole and toxic to the team environment, unfortunately, most companies are chicken shit to fire that kid. I'll fire that kid in a heartbeat. I will fire that kid in a heartbeat. I will jump back in myself to do revenue shit before I take some asshole who's going to ruin my culture. Right. So I fired clients for values purposes. I've also fired clients because we just didn't enjoy working with them, because there's something, and this, when you take money from people to do a job, great, right? That's money and you do the job. But if you don't think you're making a difference, that money doesn't really fill the gap, if you will. So a lot of times, and we talked about this before, where if we do trainings, for instance, and there's one client, I'm not going to say their name, but they're a rather big one. For years, it was great, but recently, over the past 3 or 4 years, it hasn't been fun because with COVID, again, the lack of caring. When we do a training now remotely, you got 30 people on, 5 are on video. The managers aren't engaged. They don't take advantage of the follow-up sessions that we pre-book. The managers don't do the prep work. So you're sitting there staring at 3 to 4 reps, knowing that the other 25, 30 are not paying attention, knowing that the managers
Scrolling.
are not going to be reinforcing this. And it's disheartening. It's not enjoyable. There's no much how much money you're giving me. Like, it's not fulfilling. And so we like making a difference. And when we could tell that we're not making a difference, we self-select out. So there's been clients where I've had to have the conversation with the executive team after that. Like, so usually what'll happen is I'll sell the VP, and then it'll get delegated down to whoever else. And the VP tends to go away and let the training run. And at a certain point, I'll reach out to the VP and be like, look, I know we have these sessions coming up here. I got to be honest with you. Like, by the way, never say that. Sorry. I need to be direct with you. We don't enjoy working with your team. There's an apathy here that I can't get through. You less than 2 to 5 reps every time or actually seem to give a shit. And it doesn't look like your managers are going to do anything with this. So look, we'll take your money if you really want me to, but it's just not working for us. We don't enjoy working with you because we know we're not making the difference that we could. And then the VP gets all hot and bothered and maybe goes and yells at some people or whatever it is. But there's been times like, one of our bigger clients came to us and said, sorry, John, we're going to have to cancel our contract with you. And I was thrilled.
Yeah.
And by the way, this was one of those clients that helped me build my company, that literally helped me build my company.
Important
and they came and
lessons.
And they said, John, we've, and it was funny because like we were quote unquote catching up. And all of a sudden I get on a Zoom call and there's this person I've never seen before in my life, right, on the Zoom. And she's a product manager. This felt like HR 1,000%. I'm like, am I getting fired? I even said that. I was like, nice to meet you. She's like, yeah, I'm the program manager here. And, I'm pretty new to the team. I go, am I getting fired? And she's like, oh, well, and then the other guy comes on and he's like, hey, John, right? I'm like, and he's like, well, we got some tough news for you here, man. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, well, we've decided to sign this huge contract with this massive vendor, blah, blah, blah. And we have to kind of stop our contract with all other vendors and we have to go all in with them. So we're going to have to, cancel our moving forward. And I was like, all right, cool. I was like, do you need anything from me? And he goes, and you could tell he was like waiting for me to be like, no, man, come on, and negotiate and all that.
What can I do? What can I do?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, cool. So do you need anything from me? And he was like, what? And I said to him, I said, can I be very direct with you? I go, for the past 3 years, we have not enjoyed working with your organization because your reps don't care. Your managers never show up. And we know it's not making the difference that it can. My trainers get demoralized every time they train your team. So whoever you've gone with, I hope you can fix that problem of the lack of caring, because I don't care what you spend. If your reps don't care, it ain't going to work. And so thank you for firing us. I appreciate it. You actually fixed the problem for me because I was trying to figure out how to come to you, because this wasn't one that it was like, oh, a small client, fuck off. Like this was like a big boy, you know what I mean? And I was thrilled that now, did they get me to where I am today? Absolutely. So do I have all love and respect for them? And will I ever talk shit about them? Absolutely not. But everything has a cycle. Right. We all have seasons. We all go through things. And that's like, you have to understand as a consultant, you also have to understand your lifetime value of that client. For us, as long as you're growing, we probably have about a 2 to 3 year life cycle with you, as long as you're growing, right? Because we can train new hires and that type of stuff. But if you're not growing, probably a year, we'll get in and we'll get out, and we have to bake that into our approach.